Good morning, children. Today we will start our session with a new topic, clauses. If you remember, in the last class we have studied phrases. Now, today we will study clauses. Okay, now start. A clauses can be defined as a group of words that form part of sentence and have a subject and a predicate of its own. Is called a clause. Clauses एक ऐसा पार्ट होता है सेंटेंस का जिसका खुद का एक सब्जेक्ट और खुद एक प्रेडिकेट होता है एंड इस कॉल्ड जिसे हम क्लॉजेस कहते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल वी हैव एग्जाम्पल हेयर. ड्यूरिंग द डे सोहन स्लेप्ट इन द बेड. You can see the underlined word Sohan slept in the word. It has a subject and it has a predicate in it. So that's why it's a clause. It can stand by its own and it can clear its meaning by its own. देखिए जो हमारा एग्जाम्पल है ड्यूरिंग द डे सोहन स्लेप्ट इन द बेड, इसमें हमारा क्लॉजेस है सोहन स्लेप्ट इन द बेड और इसका अपना एक सब्जेक्ट और अपना प्रेडिकेट है. दैट्स वाई इट्स अ clause. Now we will study about independent clause. Independent clause is what? A clause that can form a complete sentence standing alone, having a subject and a predicate. एक इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज वो क्लॉज होता है, जैसा कि नाम से आपको क्लियर हो रहा है कि इंडिपेंडेंट क्लॉज वो क्लॉज होता है जो अपना कंप्लीट सेंस प्रकट कर पाता है और जिसका खुद का सब्जेक्ट और प्रेडिकेट होता है. लाइक वी हैव एग्जाम्पल हेयर. ही रैन फास्ट. आई Next example we have I was late to work. Sam read a book. It has three components. You can see these all sentences can stand by its own. That's why they are what? uh, Independent clause. Make sure three things, that the components of independent clauses are they have subject. Make sure that an independent clause have subject. Now the second components, what you keep in your mind, that they have an action or predicate. They have a predicate too. They have a subject, first one, and the second one is what? They have a predicate. Now look at the third rule. Third components is what? They express complete thought. The very important, in an independent clause should be capable of expressing, because it's a clause, so it should be capable of expressing its thought. Okay, now we'll talk about dependent clause. A clause that doesn't express a complete sense. नेम से पता लग रहा है डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज जो है वो क्लॉज होता है जो दूसरे पे अपने अर्थ को स्पष्ट करने के लिए निर्भर करते हैं, उसे बोलते हैं डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज. A clause can be dependent because of presence of a marker word, for example before, after, because, since, in order to, although, though, whenever, whatever, while, even, though, who, even, if. These all are what? These all are marker word. If a dependent clause, you can easily identify a dependent clause with these words, or it may have conjunction like and, or, not, but, yet. डिपेंडेंट क्लॉज को पहचानने के लिए बहुत आसान तरीका है. उसमें बिफोर, आफ्टर, बिकॉज, सिंस, इन ऑर्डर टू, एक्सेट्रा, ये सारी चीज़ें रहती हैं. लुक एट द एग्जांपल वी हैव हियर. जिम हु लाइक्स बुक रीड अ बुक. जिम, you can easily identify, you can see the underline word who likes book. That is what? That is dependent clause. Who likes books? It's an incomplete, but still what? It requires the other words to complete its sense. Okay, so that's why it's a dependent clause. Look at the second example. My sister is one who lives in that cottage. So who lives in that cottage is what? It's a dependent clause. Now look at the third example we have. These are the people who we met on the holiday. The who we met is what? It's a dependent clause. Now fourth example we have. The prize will be given to whoever wins the race. Whoever wins the race is what? It's a dependent clause. Now we will go through the types of dependent clause. Basically the dependent clause is divided into three types. First one is what? adjective phrase clauses. Second one is adverb clauses. N- third one is what? Noun clauses. Before we now we will start noun clause. A noun clause does the function of a noun. It begins with a word such as how, that, whatever, when, where, whether, which, whichever, who, whosever, whom, whomever, and why. These are the words you can with the help of these words you can easily identify that there is a noun clause. Look at the example we have here. I like what I see. जो मैं देखता हूँ, मैं मुझे वो पसंद है जो मैं देखता हूँ. What I like, what I see is what? It is a noun clause. Okay, it's acting as a noun. Okay, now look at the second example. Whatever you wish is my command. Whatever you wish, it's a what? It's a noun clause. And what look at the third example. I know where the treasure is. So where the treasure is what? It's a noun clause. You can easily identify whenever anything starts with these kind of word, you can easily identify a noun clause. Now we'll talk about adjective clause. By the name, adjective is a word which describes noun or pronoun. Similarly, here an adjective clause does the function of an adjective. It modifies noun or pronoun. It begins with when, where, who, whom, whose, which, and why. Make this sure. Okay. We have an example here. The rat that John saw yesterday was in the kitchen. Okay. It's simply you can see it's simply modifying noun. So that John saw yesterday is what? It's an adjective clause. The carpet that you bought last year has rotted. That you bought last year is what? It's an adjective clause. It's uh, simply describing a noun, carpet. Now let's talk about the third example. The film which you recommended scared the kids half to death. So which you recommended is what? It's a adjective clause. It's simply describing the film, that how it was, which was recommended by you. That was a quite scary movie. Now we'll talk about adverb clause. Adverb clause is what? Which does the function of an adverb, which modifies an adjective, an adverb, a verb, or a phrase. It begins with after, although, because, before, if, since, then, until, when, and while. These are the words with which an adverb clause begin. Make this sure. When the sun rises, we will escape. When the sun rises is what? It's simply modifying what? Modifying, so that it's a adverb clause. Now we'll talk about the next sentence example. We have keep hitting the gauge until I stop. Stop you is what? It's an adverb clause. It's simply modifying the adverb. So hope you understand. Thank you.